violence side, but domestic tourism. But remember, the COVID scare is still with us. Now, joining me in studios this morning is a travel consultant, Barbara Natkunda from the Tio Tours and Travels, joining me to talk about tourism and how it is managing during the COVID-19 pandemic. You're welcome, Barbara.
Thank you so much.
A very good morning, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you too.
How are you personally managing with COVID-19?
Well, personally, I follow the SOPs. I wear my mask all the time. I do sanitize. I work with a personal sanitizer. Yeah, and I try to keep social distance.
Isn't COVID a hoax as people used to think?
No, not really. But I personally have suffered from it.
Okay.
But it wasn't a big deal. Because it's like normal flu and cough. Just a bit.
You tested positive?
Yes, I did. Just a bit of fever, chills, but I was able to maneuver by taking.
Did you get jabbed?
No.
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 Oh, you're not there. You don't have comorbidities, and you're not in the age brackets that need that. Well, we'll get into the issues now. We'll talk about domestic tourism in this country. Let's first of all understand what domestic tourism is, because when people talk about tourism, in our own understanding, is people look at maybe the game parks and the animals in there, and to them that's tourism.
Yes. All right. Well, domestic tourism, this is the type of travel where one moves either for leisure or business within their home country. So one qualifies to be a domestic tourist if they're moving from their home or place of residence to another place, but within the same home country. For example, me traveling from Kampala, where I stay, to Lake Bunyonyi in Kabale. That person qualifies to be a domestic tourist.
What's better, calling it domestic tourism or local tourism?
Well, I think it's the same thing.
Yes, it is, but what's better than the other? What do you think people understand most? Is it local tourism or domestic tourism?
I believe people understand local tourism.
People understand local tourism?
Yes, because it's done by locals.
Okay.
We, the residents of the country. Yeah.
Do you realize that local tourism is very expensive in this country?
Yes, it is.
Then how should people get into it when it's that expensive?
Well, I must say local tourism is very expensive because we Ugandans do not earn so much to travel. And the tourist activities are very expensive. But what we can do is we need to lower the rates in these different attractions, the national parks or places where people visit. The prices need to go down so that we Ugandans can be able to afford. If there is anything limiting Ugandans from traveling, it's because they think of how much it is. They want to go out there and see gorillas, but getting a gorilla permit, you need about 250,000. And no one is willing to spend that amount of money to just go see gorillas. So to promote domestic tourism in Uganda, and it just needs to be more affordable, especially right now during the pandemic. However, we have cheaper places for Ugandans where they can go and visit, where the fares are really low, like Jinja. They go to the source of the Nile. They can go to Marira Forest, can go visit Lake Bunyonyi. But some people want to explore the gorillas, explore the chimpanzees, but the prices are really high. What have you learned from the COVID pandemic, especially in tourism? Because you're one of those sectors that has been heavily hit and badly hit by the pandemic itself. And just because of the COVID-19 pandemic, why you do not have so many foreign tourists? What lessons have you learned from that? And what are you putting up now for the people that they should actually embrace? For you to be in business, but for the locals to also enjoy tourism in their own country. Okay, well, what I've learned, you see, most of the tour and travel companies have shut down due to the pandemic. And why they have actually shut down is because of their line of services. The line of services provided by most of these companies is basically tours. You find that they provide only school tours, safari tours, where you move around the country. They provide adventure tours, company tours, but that's not enough. Most of the companies that have shut down it's because they provide these specific tours alone. But we as TO Tours and Travel, you can see we're still in operation. And why we're in operation is because we go an extra mile. We do provide visa processing, we do ticketing, and this has helped people to continue, our company to continue. Because yes, the tickets, we sell tickets, so people want to travel outside, so they're able to go. We do visa processing for those who want to leave the country. So yeah, I believe most of the tour and travel companies, if they want to come back up, they need to increase on their line of service. Yeah, and as for what I've learned for local tourism, we really need a lot of support from the government. We need a lot of support from the government in order to promote local tourism. Like these TV programs, it's really a pleasure for me to be here because I'm sure people seeing me here, they'll be able to know there is a travel company that does so and so. Yesterday at office, we had a client who came and he wanted a visa. And he's like, I just heard about you over the radio, and that's why I am here. So tourism needs to be promoted on television, radio. I remember NTV used to show something like Sights and Sounds, and I used to go there and I want to see what are they advertising today, what are they promoting, which park are they talking about. But that's no more. Locals do not know their country. They do not know what attractions are in their country, where they should visit. They do not know the tour operators that exist, where they can go for guidance of someone. Please help me tailor a package. I want to travel here and here. So we really need support, especially in funding the marketing and promotion.
That's important. When you talk about government support or you need government to come in and help, what is this particular thing that you request from government? I want to know, especially you, the private players in the industry. When you talk about we need government intervention, what are you exactly asking for from the government in the tourism industry as private players? Okay.
Well, as private players, what we need is just promotion of the tourist attractions. Once people know the tourist attractions are there, then we will get business. Because as long as they're there and they're known, then people will come to us and ask us how they want to travel here and there. So we'll be able to draft for them an itinerary or a trip plan so that they can be able to visit that particular site. Also, infrastructure. To improve on the infrastructure to most of these destinations. Now, like Kidepo Valley National Park, I personally, I would not want to go back there. I've been there, but the roads were really, really, really poor. And it's dusty. And I felt like, unless this road is better constructed, then someone would want to travel there. But other than that, no one would want to go there. So we need to improve on the infrastructure. We also want the government to be able to resolve political issues in a better, peaceful manner. Because you see, most of these issues are not resolved well, and it scares away tourists. People are scared to move. Now, like last year when there was the Bobi Wine and President Museveni, and then there were those killings that were not justified, people wondered, are we safe going to this country? So we need the government to work on how they resolve
that's for the people who come into the country.
Yes.
How about the locals here? Because you know, when you talk about tourism and put a lot of your emphasis and focus on people who are abroad. And then we talk about local tourism, we talk about domestic tourism. I'm looking at what do you want government to do that Jagenda who lives in Salama, or Natukunda who lives in Kabale, or Eratoro in Fort Porto Chivito would want to travel, would want to visit, would want to do tourism in the country. And I'm not looking at the other people out of Uganda, but I'm looking at local tourism itself.
Okay. Well, the government needs to invest in incentives, such as come up with campaigns, tourist campaigns, or public bazaars, which are put in these local communities. Once they're put there, people are enlightened. The locals are enlightened and educated about what tourism is and the role of tourism. They're able to know the attractions they have around their communities. If the locals are engaged or given jobs there, like when you go to Fort Portal and visit Amawerega in Amuru, many locals are employed there. They give us the historical background of how these caves came up. So the local participation is key. Once locals tend to participate in tourism, then I believe domestic tourism will be highly promoted. All they need is to engage the locals.
Would a Ugandan afford moving from maybe Kampala to go to Fort Portal and spend a holiday there, find it good there, in an affordable way? But because you see, when we talk about tourism and when we talk about these things, we tend to look at them, of course, as things for the rich, those who have money to move from one place to go to another to rest and all the things.
Yes.
But COVID has actually now told you or showed you that tourism is not only for a class of people. If you actually want to survive in business, then you need to bring everybody on board. And my concern still goes to affordability. Why can't we afford? Why don't you make it affordable for Ugandans to actually enjoy tourism domestically?
Well, I believe we can make it affordable. We just have to sit as a sector and revise those costs. Revise the costs and see how best to make it affordable for Ugandans. However, we know it will not be a long-standing solution because the industry needs money, and most of the money that we make is from the foreign tourists. Yeah, Ugandans will complain about if you tell them you need to take them to Fort Portal, there'll be a hotel, you'll be paying 50,000 per night. Ugandans will complain about that. So I think the locals need to understand that tourist services are actually expensive.
Yeah, but of course COVID is teaching you lessons.
COVID is teaching us lessons, and we are trying so much to reduce these prices by coming up with campaigns. Like last year in September 2020, there was a Take On the Pearl campaign, which was hosted. And in this Take On the Pearl campaign, the winners, tourists were given, lucky winners were given prizes. Then the tourist activities, the prices were low. So people keep coming up with events whereby the prices are low so that locals can keep participating in them, and no tourist activities. Yeah, so.
What other tourist things do we look at beyond going to the parks, beyond going to the traditional Mississippi Falls, you know, visiting the different parks, going to the Mawerega Nyinamwira and all the things? What other more things there? If for example, the people who live in Fort Portal may not find reason why they should actually go and see Mawerega Nyinamwira.
Yes.
They've grown there, they've played there, they've seen the things for years and years. What more things there in tourism that actually somebody can say, I am not only moving to go and see Mabera Forest, or to go and see Lake Imboro, or to go and see, what more things are there in tourism that we can pride about, talk about, promote, and cause people to love them and go and visit?
Well, the tourism sector has very many attractions, and the attractions are categorized. We have the national parks, which have wildlife species. Yeah, we have the hotels. You know, there are people who want to just go to a hotel, spend a night in a hotel, know how it feels to be in a luxurious hotel with luxurious amenities. Yeah, we do have those nature, like Lake Bunyonyi. You want to go see the deepest crater lake. You want to go see the second largest lake, Lake Victoria. You want to go see rivers. Now that is nature, lakes, rivers, forests, yeah? Then we also have, in the tourism sector, we also have airline services, whereby one wants a ticket to travel abroad. So there is that. So when someone comes in, we just list for them the different things in the tourism industry, and they'll be able to pick up. Do you want adventure? Do you want sports? Do you want to go see national parks? Are you interested in wildlife? If you came as a client to me, I would ask you what your interests are, and you would tell me what you're interested in seeing. So what your interests are, enable me to get you the perfect destination for your trip. So tourism does have a lot, and it's very diverse. It has cultures, it's just according to what the client is really interested in seeing and knowing.
What do Ugandans want most?
Ugandans, they want to see the wildlife species.
Or what should we put our emphasis on as a country? Because when you go to places like China, you go to places like Korea, you go to those other places, whether you've gone to visit or not, and actually if you've been to any of those, you'll notice that if you want to visit a particular anything there, you would find that you are not so many foreigners. Majority of them are actually themselves. If you go to China, for example, and tour they call it the Great Wall of China, I think, you'll notice that majority, about 80%, are Chinese.
Yes.
About 80%, 10, 20 of you are those that have come from elsewhere in the world. But it's their thing, it's their heritage, and they go tour, they go visit, they go do all the things. When you go to Chairman Mao's Bay or whatever it is, you'll find that you don't get more foreigners than the locals in there. What needs to be done to us here that if foreigners come and they've gone to visit anything in this country, they've gone to maybe go in Zimbabwe or anywhere, that they will not be surprised to find many of us Ugandans there visiting as opposed to people who have come from anywhere. What needs to be done to embrace that? That we look at ourselves, first of all, as the best or the first clientele that we have around.
All right. Well, for Ugandans, I must say, what they embrace most is culture. Yes, they embrace their different cultures, and they like it, and they are proud of it when they know that tourists are coming, foreign tourists are coming, they have like something cultural in the itinerary. They'll be very excited. They'll prepare themselves, they'll prepare the dress code, they'll have the dancers, they'll have the music and songs ready. And when you visit these culture sites like Amaberega in Namuru, when you visit the Kavaka's Palace, when you visit the tombs, you'll find that these culture dancers are there and they're willing to welcome you. So I believe for Ugandans, for us to increase on our participation, it's involving them in things related to their culture, and putting different cultures, since the parks are scattered in different places of the country with different cultures. I believe we should promote those cultures and support them, their activities, the attire and outfit and everything they need, so that when the tourists come, they'll be excited. Yeah, so that's what I think.
Okay. Do you think government is doing enough, especially now that we have COVID? When the president was addressing us, I think in June, July last year, he talked about, I think it was specific, to be specific, he spoke to us on Labor Day last year. And when he spoke to us on that day, he outlined what he called the hard economy, I think, and the soft economy. And of course, number one in the soft economy is tourism, or as tourism, according to him there, because we've seen it's one of those sectors that have been hit so hard by the COVID pandemic. In your thinking, looking at legislation, government policies on tourism and all the things, and because we know that tourism, yes, fetches a lot of money for this economy, do you think that government is actually doing enough as government, first and foremost? Are they doing enough to ensure that this particular industrial sector is resuscitated, is up there, it is working, continuing to thrive and all these things? Do you think they're doing enough?
Well, I must say, for the part of continuing to thrive, they are not really doing much. Because when I look at the curve, tourism is at the verge of decline. It's actually declined. It has declined. It's almost collapsing. But what mainly has to be done, what we really request of the government, is just to fund the promotion, marketing, and advertising of the industry, so that our industry can sell out there.
Why is it falling, according to you? Why do you think that the curve for tourism is actually just going down?
Why it's going down is because as an industry, we concentrate on the foreigners and the income and from the foreigners.
How is government failing that?
Yes?
How is government failing that? Or what should government do with that?
Okay, the pandemic is strong right now.
Exactly.
The virus is ongoing and deaths are increasing, I wouldn't ask the government to open the borders and let flights fly in and out, but that would be the solution. Because
would you then be justified for, let's say, government is not doing enough when you also know that there's a pandemic? Because even if you open the borders today and you have a relative in the UK, for example, somebody in the UK or anywhere, and they know that this is a situation now in Uganda, in Kampala, and would they feel free to come and say, well, even when there is COVID, let's go? To Lake Bunyonyi, let's go, and if it kills us, it kills us. Do you think anybody would just want to surrender like that?
No.
They would definitely not do that.
They would not.
Then what do you think government should do?
Well, I believe we are left with no
I'm looking at your recommendations, I'm looking at your suggestions as private players
yes.
to the government that you think really, well, even with the pandemic, because first and foremost is we do not know when this thing will end.
Yeah.
Yes, we don't know. Because this is not a war. I read some message somewhere. It's not a war of guns, and that you'll even actually get to a point and say, now we're signing agreements for ceasefire. We've lost enough people, we've lost enough soldiers, we've lost enough so much, we actually out of stock of anything. So but this is a pandemic that we do not know how it will actually end. So between now and then, we don't know. What about if this thing stays here with us for the next 3 years, next 4 or 5 years? What do you plan as the players in the industry?
As players in the industry, I believe we have no option. Rather, we have opted for local tourism. And this local tourism, we just need to see how best we can promote it and let it be our solution for now, our temporary solution. But what do we have to do so that we can get really many local tourists moving? We just need to sit with the Ministry of Tourism and sit as a sector and see how best to reduce the fares so that locals can move to different destinations. And the little we earn is better than being at home, sitting and doing nothing.
Tourism board, is it of any use or importance to you?
Yes, it
UTB?
is. Yes, it is. But not at the moment.
Not at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay. How cheap should it be? I'm still looking at that. If somebody wanted to do local tourism or domestic tourism, as we're discussing it,
yeah.
What would be the ideal cost? Let me just think. How much money would somebody have? Because today, if you had come from what do they call it? An external employment agency of sorts.
Yes.
If you had come here, you would possibly say, if you have 4, 5, 6, 7 million shillings, we'll be able to process a visa for you, a passport for you, your travel ticket, this, and go to Saudi Arabia or Kuwait or anything. So somebody plans and knows that if I get 5 million shillings, then I'm good to go. If you're planning a trip for somebody, you could tell them, for you to go and maybe do your honeymoon in South Africa, we can give you a package of so much money. If you got 10 million shillings, then it would be good for you to go for 3 days or 5 days or 1 week with your partner in a hotel of this star and whatever it is. Locally here, how much would somebody have to actually say, I want to enjoy local tourism in my country, Uganda, but so much is what I can afford, or so much is what somebody can afford to be there?
Okay. Well, to different destinations, the fares vary.
That's true.
Yes. When you go into the national park, you find when you're entering the park, you need 20,000. You go for a game drive, you'll need another 20,000. Boat cruise, 30,000. So you find the total package may range from 500,000, yeah, to 2 million, according to the accommodation. Actually, what makes trips expensive is the accommodation type that one wants to use. There are luxurious hotels, there are mid-range hotels, and then there are budget hotels. But for locals, of course, I believe they would want the budget hotels, whereby you go and spend 100,000 having lunch, dinner, breakfast, and your bed. Yeah, so what I believe we should do as a sector is we need to cut these prices, maybe halfway. Let park entry be like 10,000. Let the game drive, if it's 20, let it be 10,000, at least halfway, so that we can get people to move to these places temporarily, because we do not know how long this pandemic is going to last.
Domestic tourism in Kenya is very cheap for Kenyans and very expensive for non-Kenyans. I don't know whether you've noticed that or realized that.
Yes.
There are places that you go to in the city of Nairobi, and once they know that you are a Jagenda from Uganda, of course you're a foreigner, they charge you 2-3 times more than that of a local in there. The idea is to promote from them. First and foremost is Jagenda visits Nairobi once in maybe a year. You know, I may go to Nairobi once and never even go back there. But yet again, there's a Barbara who is in Nairobi every other day. She's in here, she would love to see this or that and stuff like that. Are we looking at that? Are we getting to that? Because I'm only thinking, why would I compete with a foreigner? Because if somebody came into this country and they're going to spend 2 million shillings because of the luxuries and stuff like that, it's because they planned for this money. They've planned to actually say, I am going to Uganda where I have no home, and while there, I will do this, visit here, visit here, visit here. This is so much that I will eat. This is so much that will be for my accommodation. Why would Barbara and Jagenda also have to go through the same rigors? And I'm only looking at that. I'm only passing and sending a challenge to you.
Yes.
But because you could be out there because you're in business or you're doing business and you do not know the feelings that we have about you. We are your clients.
True. Actually, when you look at the tariffs that we make, the foreigners still pay way too much compared to the East African tourists. But still, East Africans still look at this money and they see it as a lot. Yeah? To them, they still look at it and they see it's still a lot for them to spend just to go and see animals and sleep in a hotel. But Ugandans do need to know their country. The moment I traveled to my very first destination, I think that was Queen Elizabeth, that's when I knew what I wanted to do was tourism. What I wanted to do was just travel. Whatever the expense, I wanted to visit each and every place. But what helped me travel these destinations is because I did tourism as a program at the university. And we had these trips tailored to keep going to these destinations. Yeah? And that was cheap for me. But right now, I don't think I can be there and I'm like, I need to go to Makshan and spend over 600,000 just for 2 days. No, I cannot. So the solution that we need to come up with in order to promote domestic or local tourism is we need to revise those costs so that we can make them affordable for Ugandans, especially during this pandemic where they are earning nothing. Most of them are home. Most businesses have shut down. We need to make it more affordable so that at least those with disposable income who are seated with their money and feel have made it in life can start moving to these places.
What innovations have you had now as players, sector players in there? What innovations now during the pandemic itself? Because I'm very sure that the way you did business in 2018-19 is not the same way you did business in 2020, and it is not the same way that you're doing business in 2021. What innovations have you come up with that you feel should actually keep you up there and going with your business as we wait for the pandemic to subside?
All right, well, the innovations, I must say that there's some potential new products that are coming up, but these products are mainly based on promoting culture. Yes, promoting culture. For example, in Mityana, there is an Entanda Cultural Community Center where people go and they learn about the Buganda culture, they learn about the local food, they learn about how the Buganda dance and how they do their things. So what we are concentrating on is how best to engage the locals in order to promote their culture. Yes, coming up with destinations that bring out culture. For now, that's it, and conserving the parks. That's why we're trying so much to promote domestic tourism, because domestic tourism, once people are traveling to these parks, yeah, they will be a reason to drive to conservation of these parks. Otherwise, if domestic tourists are not going to these parks, therefore these parks are just going to extinct. They'll see no reason, and by the time we open the borders and foreigners are coming in, they'll realize that there is nothing good to see. So we want to, as much as possible, promote domestic tourists so that we can feel that the tourism industry is still in motion.
Apart from nature and maybe culture. Is there any other thing here that we get towards for tourism? And I'm looking at there's certain very old things that we've had amongst ourselves here, and I'm looking at, for example, there's no park in Kampala, there's no lake in Kampala, or whatever that is. So if somebody wanted to tour in Kampala, is there anything here that somebody would actually say, this is it, and we're seeing how to enjoy it? I'm only thinking because when we talk about tourism, like I said, we make it very expensive because you need to ferry somebody from here, drive them to Moya Safari Lodge. You drive them to Chobe, to Chobe in Noya. You take them places that I've personally been to. I know this. Take them to CP Falls or whatever it is, and of course somebody will feel the expense of driving from here, go to Rhino Camp in Arua or whatever. Look at Kampala, for example, or Gulu, for example. Arua, for example. These are cities in Hoima itself, in Fort Porto, in Mbale, Mbarara. Are there specific tourism things away from the lakes and rivers and the game parks and all the things that actually people can, because we talk about domestic tourism, that somebody in Kampala can find reason to pay 10,000 or 20,000 or 50,000 at the most, it will actually say, I'm paying this with my family out to go and enjoy something like that as domestic tourism, because this is what happens elsewhere in the world.
Okay. Well, yes. You see, when we're drafting these travel packages or the safaris, we always have the city tours. Most people want to explore Kampala as a city, as a capital city of Uganda. So there are a few destinations. It's mainly culture. You can go to the Kasubi tombs, take them to the Kavaka's Palace, the Kavaka's Lake. You can go for religious tourism at Uganda Matters Shrine, yes.
In Namugongo.
Yes, in Namugongo. Other than that, if they feel like they need to see animals just within, we take them to Entebbe, to Uek. They go to the zoo. If they want to see chimpanzees still just within, on Lake Victoria, there is Ngamba, there is a chimpanzee sanctuary there on the lake. And that is a very short distance because you just need to move 1 hour or 2 hours and you're there. Then you can go boat cruise, things that you do not have to go to the west or to the east to explore. You just have to move within Kampala and Entebbe, yeah? And that is going to be a very, 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 very fair trip because the cost doesn't go beyond 100,000. Most of these activities, visiting the zoo, you just need 10,000 to enter the zoo, yes? Going to Namugongo Shrine, it's free of charge. You move around the shrine, you see the place, you know the places, you pay guide fee of about 5,000. So these are places that we do have in Kampala, just that locals, most of the locals, are concentrated in the city, in Kampala. They feel like they know it all. They want to move to somewhere else. They want to move to the west. They want to see lakes. Actually, I must say, most locals are interested in nature. They feel they know their culture well. They feel they know instruments. They don't need to go to the museum to see all those historical ornaments and etc. They know the shrine. When it's Matters Day, they'll watch us on TV. They will see what everyone has to say, how pilgrims have walked to Namugongo and so on. So what locals want to do is they want to also feel like foreigners. They want to go into these parks, explore, see the animals, go on a boat cruise. That is what they want. And the only way we can do that is by reducing the prices for these activities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I think you need to be talking to hotel owners, for example, that they also do not have now clients in their hotels because of the pandemic.
That's true.
And I'm only thinking, are you talking amongst yourselves? Because you consultants in travels and tours, Jagenda owns a hotel, another person owns a beach somewhere. Are you in this kind of partnership, in this kind of arrangement that, yes, we are having this arrangement that when I have clients and they want to travel to Mbale, I have a hotel that I can talk to give subsidized costs for purposes of somebody going to visit the Elgon or go to Maluku or go to Nawea or go anywhere, and they find some affordable accommodation somewhere. I don't know whether they're doing it or you just superimpose it onto the client that, yes, pay 500 1,000, then we'll see how to sort you when you get to Mbale.
Okay, well, every tour and travel company or tour operator has hotels with whom they work.
Okay.
You find that as a hotel, if I bring clients to, as a tour company, if I bring clients to your hotel, most of the time there are discount fares that they give to those tour operators, yeah? So the more you bring clients to that specific hotel, you find that they keep reducing on your fares, or they have a lower fare compared to how other tour companies, how they'll charge other tour companies or normal tourists that will visit that place. So these hotels, I think we need to talk to them too, because yes, we're already in partnership, yeah? They already give us a tour operator rate, but I believe we need to reduce the fares at the hotels too, because the hotels too have shut down. They really do not have business from tour operators. But only after we have gotten the tourists, the local tourists, is when we can do that.
Normally, when the government is reading the budget, different players want to hear what the government says about their particular sectors. Those in education, teachers, for example, would want to know how much money are they putting into education, or how much salaries actually are they putting into this budget. The players in health, the players in agriculture would want to know how much money has been put in there. Did you also look into the budget to know how much money government is putting into the budget for tourism, and whichever money that government put in tourism, how does it benefit you? What is it? Because you talk about roads, for example, those that go to Kidepo.
Yes.
Now that's a different sector. That's infrastructure. Government needs to find money to actually build a road to Kidepo, to the other places, and anything. With or without tourism, government has to build that road. Did you look into the budget and what do you have to say about the budget that was put to tourism? It's not your money, but it's money that was put in a sector where you are having your livelihood.
Well, the money the government budgeted for tourism, I believe mainly is to promote local tourism at the moment. But how? We need to improve the quality of the destinations, first of all. Yes, we need to improve the quality. Improving the quality does not mean just the appearance of the destination, but we also need skilled personnel, really skilled personnel. Some of these people that have been there currently are reluctant and they have given up. They feel like, this sector, I don't think it will revive at any one point. So we need skilled personnel who know about these destinations so well, yeah, so that they can encourage people to travel to those places. We need the quality of the destination to be improved. Once again, I'll use Kidepo. When you go to Kidepo, there is an accommodation, a poka, and it is a luxurious accommodation. Now, if you can't afford that accommodation, you'll opt for nothing but the camping tents, yes? The camping tents, yeah, sometimes can be fun, it's adventurous, but then the time I visited, I went as a group, school group, and at the end of the day, there were about 4 students that had gotten asthmatic attacks due to the cold. It's very hot during day, but it's very cold in the night. So I believe in the tourism sector, this money needs to be invested in destinations, see how best to improve the quality of these destinations so that they can make them more attractive for people.
Where do you see the industry in another 3 to 5 years from now?
In another 3 to 5 years from now, I believe it will be now a balance of domestic tourism and international tourism. I believe by then international tourists will be back. But due to COVID, I think we have learnt our lesson, and domestic tourism too will have risen up. So there will be a balance of the two. I believe the costs will be a bit fair. Okay. So that domestic tourism can continue, because if the pandemic goes away and then they rise up the prices again, then that means domestic tourism will collapse because the locals will not be able to afford. So for now, we need to lower the prices for locals so that they can make it, and they should maintain those ones. And then for the foreigners, once it picks up, they can always afford.
Finally, your final remark.
Well, my final remark, I believe tourism is going to pick up. We have suffered a loss due to the closure of borders and no international tourists coming in. But with the government support, I believe we can promote local tourism in Uganda, reduce the fares, and make sure that tourism continues flourishing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Barbara Natkunda, a travel consultant from Tio Tours and Travels. Thank you so much for joining me, and of course for the discussion here over local or domestic tourism that we're talking about. Remember, COVID is teaching us lots of things that those who thought or who wanted or who knew just about flying out of this country to go and tour elsewhere, it's time now that we also rethought about what we need to do with our tourism industry, which is very fragile, but of course another it's a very good industry, and it's a very booming industry that needs to. That needs a lot of efforts to see how to resurrect it and of course put it there. We thank you so much for choosing to be with us. We'll just let you know that there will be a live coming on as the Makerere University Veterinary Highest Education, Science and Technology Department also celebrates their 50th anniversary, and we expect the designate Minister of Education, Her Excellency the First Lady, Janet Kataya Museveni, to preside over this particular event. And of course later they will be also launching an incubation machine, well, I think still at the veterinary department, wherever they are. We'll stop it here and now welcome you very shortly to that particular event from the veterinary department of Makerere University as they celebrate 50 years. My name is Jagana Samakwala Ziksoka saying good morning and bye for today.